Hello, hello! David Snowpick here from Snowpick Games. Welcome to the stream. How are you folks doing? I am less tired this week than I was last week. This week, I spent really most of my time playing Population 1 and trying to catch up on sleep. And it mostly worked. You know, I'm not totally brain dead. Hey Ashton, welcome to the stream! We got some pretty okay characters. I'm a dude in a sweater with a mustache, which, I mean, in real life, I'm also that. I'm not entirely sure I understand your outfit, Ashton. You got, maybe some sort of cape, or is that like shoulder pads with different colored sleeves? I'm not sure. Looks awesome in any case. Hey Ricardo, welcome to the stream! You've got my hairline going, but gray. How are you folks doing? How are your projects and whatnot and game plan? Does anyone else play Population 1? Has anyone else even heard of Population 1? It's not a new game or anything. It's basically like Fortnite, at least gameplay-wise, but in VR. It's not like Fortnite in the way that it's not, you know, with the dances and the crazy pop culture things. But, you know, the Battle Royale, you're on a squad, dropped on a map, loot stuff, kill everybody, last team standing wins. I'm not very good at it, and it actually makes me very sick, like as far as VR sickness. But I've been getting better at it, and I think my body may be slowly acclimating. There's a lot of people in like VR who will talk about like getting your VR legs and like eventually being able to like overcome your VR sickness, which until relatively recently I thought was just BS. Like, yeah, people say that. It's like, oh yeah, just get good. And I never really believed it because I've always had like really bad VR sickness. So like games where you teleport, I'm fine. Games where you walk around, I'm extra fine. Like that's the best is where you just move under your own like physical 2 feet. But anything with smooth motion, depending on the game, would either make me slightly nauseous or seriously nauseous. And Population 1 has always been in the seriously nauseous category. But like I've been doing VR a lot for the last 4 years, like doing something in VR like almost every day. And I have to say, I think my VR sickness has improved about this much. So, yeah. Swords of Freeport. I have not even heard of that. Of course, that's not really saying much. There's like a million games released every day. So I guess I should default to I've never heard of that. And then if I had heard of something, just get really excited. Swords of Freeport. Not finding the right thing here. Maybe if I add Steam to the... Closed alpha. Search itch. All right. We'll get there. All right, we'll actually search on itch then, I guess. Swords of Freeport. Not finding it. A lot of cool sword sprites though. I'm liking these voxel swords. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a very, very closed alpha. So closed, they've closed themselves off from the internet. But yeah, otherwise, like, I've been getting very excited for the Quest 3 going to be announced in this month now that it's September. I'm excited about that. My daughters are starting school on Tuesday, so I've been doing a lot of stuff associated with that. Swords of Freeport. Here we go. Freeport is the biggest, most infamous city on the Trantic. I don't know why my brain said Titanic. Trantic seaboard. the only city-state free of monarchs and unelected officials, has been infested with something arguably even worse: capitalists. Well, I like it already. Is it a text-based thing? Ooh, this gives me a lot of like mud, BBS door kind of. Well, not mud because this is clearly text, but more like BBS door sort of feeling, like Legend of the Red Dragon. Or is anyone else from participated in that era before the internet, when you would dial into a BBS and there would be they would refer to the applications that you launch from the BBS as a door? I don't know what that comes from. It's weird, but this kind of reminds me. Here we go. It's part mud. Okay, so there isn't the map and like the sort of real time aspect to a mud, but part BBS door game. They literally say it right here. This person read my mind, or I read their mind. Someone's mind was read. That's all I know. Without the need for BBS, playing a home machine, home machine. Oh yeah, such as Legend of the Red Dragon. So I was not able to fully participate in the BBS era because at the time I didn't have the necessary equipment. I still was rocking my Commodore 64, which could connect to BBSs, I'm told, but I never had a modem and couldn't do that. But some of my buddies had DOS machines, and we would I'd go over their house and play things on BBSs. And we sort of dreamed of being able to create our own BBS, and we even like set up the software for it at one point. But we never had like phone lines to use for this. But yeah, interesting times. It says health thing this month gives me vertigo, nausea most days. Eesh. Yeah, that sounds no good. I hope you get to the bottom of that. That sounds really, really unpleasant. Hey, The Clean, welcome to the stream. Currently the most wealthy citizen in Freeport. So is this okay? So it said it was single player. Is there like a shared world you could play it on? Because that was another sort of weird thing about, less so in things like Legend of the Red Dragon, but more so in MUDs, that it was like an interactive world that you sort of co-created with the other people who were on that same BBS. But of course, these were like standard games that everyone was installing on their BBS. So there's like lots of different worlds, a multiverse, if you will. Yeah, no, this looks cool. But you said it's a closed alpha. I would love to check this out, because I just honestly have not played a game like this since, I don't know, I guess the early 90s. So let me add this to one of my collections. Check out later. Oh, cool. Yeah, so I guess that is basically how BBS things worked anyways. You basically just connect directly to the terminal. You're just getting that stuff. The terminal control characters fed right in, and ANSI graphics. Yeah, those were the days. Ricardo says, hot reloading for GDExtension sounds exciting. I'd like to move my module to a GDExtension too eventually. Cool, yeah. What is your module that you want to move to a GDExtension? Because I know you were doing Julia, but I thought you were doing that as a GDExtension, and I know you're doing one of the physics, was it Box 2D things, but I thought that was also a GDExtension. What's your thing that's a module that isn't a GDExtension? Anyway, yeah, so today we are going to work again on hot reloading for GDExtensions. We started working on it some number of weeks ago. We did kind of the initial development on stream. Last week, I demoed at the beginning of the stream it essentially working. And there's only a couple things left to finish it. So the big blockers, like all the things where I was waiting for other stuff to happen in Godot, are finished. I'm not blocked on anything anymore. The last things to do here is some validation. So there are a couple things that I know, or at least strongly suspect, will cause crashes if your GDExtension changes in a certain way on hot reload. When you attempt to use it, everything will explode. And so what we need to add to this PR is some amount of validation to look for those cases and mitigate them. somehow. Some of them I know for sure are a problem. Like if your GDExtension is providing a class to class.db, and it says, I descend from node 2D, and then after the reload it says, oh no, in fact, I descend from, I don't know, sprite 2D or something like that, that will definitely break stuff. So we need to look out for that. There's a couple of things that are called out in the issue description here about method binds that I'm not 100% sure will cause crashes. I'm not 100% sure what will happen, and I also don't know what the solution will be. So I think we need to do some testing. I think we need to try to create some of these bad situations, see what happens, and then we'll kind of try to figure out what we can do to mitigate the damage. Oh, Godot Julia is a module for now. Interesting. Is there anything in the script part of the interface that's missing in GDExtension? Because it seems fairly complete. Like I of course don't have as much experience in that part of Godot and that part of GDExtension than other parts. But like when I was working on CPP script and then looking at other people's script implementations, it seems fairly complete. Like I'm not aware of things that you can do in a module with adding a new scripting language to Godot that you can't do in GDExtension. So if there are things, like, please let me know. Ooh, all right. I will at the very least follow this human on Mastodon. Of course, this isn't my Mastodon. I forget how you do this. How do you subscribe to someone who isn't your... Do I just click follow? And does that help me on a different server? Copy and paste this here on a search field. Okay. I don't use Mastodon enough. I mean, I use it more than I use Twitter because I quit Twitter at some point. But I don't use it enough to remember how all the things work. All right, add. Alyssa, I would guess, is how this person's name is pronounced with a double S as opposed to Eliza, which might happen with a single S or a Z. Cool. All right, so yeah. I guess first we're gonna try to break stuff. Let's break stuff. Not in the fun way, like with hammers or smashing TVs or pumpkins. Pumpkins also fun to smash. But we will break things in Godot. So I'm thinking, here's my test GDExtension. It doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot. I based it on the summator demo. But we need to have something that's in the editor. So yeah, part of this, actually, I can just test the way it is now. And let's do that first because it's easier. So we have this test node. It descends from just plain old node. Let's sort of toggle that between node and node 2D and get Godot to complain or crash. Or probably crash at first, and then we'll add some code to make it complain. So what do I got to do to get this running? Did I set up VS Code? I did not. Let's go here. Go to our launch JSON for VS Code, and let's get... Oh, it's already set up to point to reload test. Okay. So let's run this. Let's just get the things running, make sure it's doing what we think it does, and then we will try to break stuff. Oh, I saw I still had an active breakpoint in here. We do not want that. No breakpoints. We will want you to activate the debugger when we crash, but we do not want any breakpoints. All right, so our GDExtension is providing a node which exists in this scene that on its process callback, it's counting 60 frames and then outputting some text. We can see the magic of hot reloadable GDExtensions by changing the output string, which is going to say, I don't know, vampires. I think I took that from that person's Mastodon name, but we'll recompile. Oh, it's got to do some stuff here. I wonder why it has to do that, actually. Is this on an unexpected branch? No. Well, I don't know why it feels like it has to recompile everything. It should have just recompiled our code, but luckily I got a lot of cores on this computer. It should be done in a moment. And we're done. So we hop back over to Godot, and it should start printing out vampires. Why has it not started printing out vampires? Oh, I know why. And probably that's why I decided I need to rebuild everything. I'm using the dev build. So dev build equals yes. Oh, and it's rebuilding everything anyway. Yeah, so to sort of explain what went wrong there, in the .GDExtension file for this GDExtension, it is pointing at the libgd summator linux template debug.dev, and the .dev version is only compiled when I say dev build equals true to scans, and I forgot to type that. So, in a moment, it should finish. Just want to pop in and say thanks for your work on GDExtension. Very much appreciated. Thank you for coming by and saying thank you. I mean, it's weird to thank someone for a thank you, but I mean, it's very motivating to hear that the work that I'm doing is helpful to other people. So thanks. I started trying to support compiling both as a module and as a GDExtension, but with the API differences, it turned tedious quickly. Maybe I'll try again this weekend. Yeah. So the biggest thing is that, at least in what I've noticed, is that there's some classes that you can't just descend from ClassDB. You have to like build up your own class on your end and then provide like function pointers. There is a way to work around that, and I'm thinking about adding it to Godot CPP at some point. Here, let me get up CPP script, which I will need to send to the right screen here. So like script instance is exactly the thing. So in script instance, you cannot just descend from a script instance class from ClassDB. You have to provide this struct. So then what I did here was I made this class script instance extension, which tries to mirror what is in the Godot engine version of script instance. It's not exactly the same. When I started doing it initially, I made it exactly the same, thinking like, yeah, this will be great. Then module and a GDExtension don't have to change anything. But there's a bunch of data types that need to be converted between the Godot version and the GDExtension version, and doing those conversions just seemed wasteful. Like we're doing a whole bunch of memory allocations and loops that we like technically don't need. So I was like, fine, I'll make my version of script instance extension take the data types that we're expecting from the GDExtension version, not the Godot engine version. So that's why like get method list is returning a pointer to GDExtension method info instead of like, I don't know, some wrapper to that. And yeah. But I think we could provide a class like this in Godot CPP that you could descend from, and you still have to deal with those little bit of type differences, but you could probably put in a couple of if-defs and make it not be that big of a deal, as opposed to, you know, making everyone who's using Godot CPP who wants to provide like a new scripting language have to redo this themselves. So yeah, I think on the where this actually gets created, yeah, so I just have a static variable that holds all the right pointers, and then somewhere, I think I made a static method. What did I do? Oh yeah, it's just right here. So then we say create native instance. It will do the actual like underlying, stop popping up things, GDExtension call to do it. Anyway. That is a PR that is coming eventually. I have just this enormous list of like PRs I'm going to write, and I'm trying to focus on ones for Godot as opposed to Godot CPP because we only have a month left before the feature freeze for Godot 4.2, and there's so much to get done. Anyway, I think our thing compiled. Yes, it compiled. Let's hop over here. Ooh, what happened? Unable to recreate GDExtension instance. Does this extension support hot reloading? Well, I'm glad that we decided to try and see if it worked in the first place before carrying on to the next part. Let's see, Godot CPP I thought was a link. Oh, it's not. Or it is? But it's on the wrong branch. Git checkout hot reload. All right, well, take 3, I guess. Dev build equals yes. I think I was compiling with the wrong branch of Godot CPP, but I thought I came over here. Oh no, this is Godot's. I just confused myself. All right, so this is the VS Code window with Godot CPP in it, and I was in the Godot directory. Here's my VS Code window with Godot in it. All right, sorry everyone. Foggy brained. Let's stop this for now, because I think it won't be able to reload if the GDExtension initially didn't support reloading. So let's launch it. Compiling. All right, so now it's saying vampires. And if we change it again, gotta find my way to the right spot to say, I don't know, scripts. And we recompile it. This should only take a moment. Go back here, and now it says scripts. All right, hot reloading is working. Now let's do something that's totally invalid and should explode. That is, we are going to change the type from node to node2d. And as of now, there are no checks. Oop, and we got to change the header we're including, or I guess add a header that we're including. Is it like this? I always forget because one of them puts an underscore and the other one doesn't. Like, I think Godot does node underscore 2d and Godot CPP doesn't. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so totally invalid. What happens? Huh. Well, it doesn't explode. I wonder if that's just because node and node2d are similar enough that it works. Let's do something wackier. What if we descend from object instead of node? That's like so totally invalid here. Let's do that. And let's change the string that it's printing out just so we can be sure that it succeeded in reloading, assuming it does like not crash. Crash. Oh yeah, there is no process method. Well, let's just remove the process method, do it anyway, and just see what happens. Because I'm like legitimately not sure what is going to happen. Just that I know that this is invalid and has the potential to crash. Attempting to connect non-existent callable pushback p-type validated pushback true. All right, so some things definitely went wrong. Attempted to connect non-existent. Yeah, but it didn't crash, which I guess is nice. What I think we need to do here is to have the reload code check for the situation, print out a message, and then like abort not the whole reload, but the reload of this particular type. Because I do think in some cases this can crash. I think I didn't come up with the best example to potentially show that, but I think we can test it that way anyway, so that we can do what we need to do here. All right, so let's go take a look at the Godot code. I think we need to look in GDExtension CPP, I think. And this would be when we are registering the class. So okay, the way this basically works is when it's reloading, it deinitializes the old module, unloads it from memory, loads the not module, deinitializes the old GDExtension, unloads it from memory, loads the new library, and goes through the initialization process again. But because we know we're doing a reload, we hang on to a bunch of data about the GDExtension, about the way it was before the reload. So when we're coming through and registering things again, we'll be able to say, hey, you're registering a class that you registered earlier. It's part of the reload. And that's where we can do some validation on it. Hey, Alan, welcome to the stream. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming. Okay, so this is register extension class internal. Yeah, we're just checking if it's there. So the reloading logic is happening here. If it's reloading and we have this class, then we're grabbing the old extension object. If parent extensions, this would be if our parent class was also from a GDExtension, from, I guess, this GDExtension, because we don't really support at the moment one GDExtension extending a class from another, although we plan to eventually. So parent class name, this is a string name. Yeah. So we need to do something here-ish. Where and how is parent extension defined? All right, yeah, okay. So I think if we aren't extending from another GDExtension, which I think should always be okay, like if it changes its parent in the hierarchy and it previously extended a GDExtension class as opposed to a native class, I think we don't care if that moves around. Is that true? Yeah, because it's coming from the same GDExtension, the other parent class would also have been updated, and I think we're good. I think we're good. So all we need to care about is if it doesn't have a parent extension, then we need to make sure that the old parent class name equals the new parent class name. And it looks like, how much of this information do we store? Can we just do like error fail message or cond message if the parent class name does not equal extension GDExtension parent, or wait, hang on. This if only makes sense in the context of reload, and at this exact moment we don't know that we're reloading. Okay, let's move this up here. And we'll say if not parent extension and parent class does not equal extension GDExtension parent class name. That's a huge if statement. I feel like this macro is no longer appropriate. Let's just do this as an if, and then we'll just say fail message, and we'll say something like on reload GDExtension class. Next we'll do vformat GDExtension class changed parent type from blah to blah on reload, something like that. And so then the class name is class name. The change parent type from extension, GDExtension parent class name. And finally, parent class name. Hey, Andreas Friedel, welcome to the stream. Hey, Howard Kotagi, welcome to the stream. We have at least one viewer from Germany. Actually, I'd be super curious. Like, I know where some of you are viewing from, but I don't know where everyone is viewing from. It'd be super cool to hear what country and or city or continent or however much specificity, planet, universe, I don't know, you would like to give for where you are watching the stream from. Okay, so let's rebuild Godot and give this a try. Then we're going to alternate between different parent classes and see if we get our message. From Sweden. And Ashton, I remember you were from Australia, and then you said you were living in another place whose flag I'm sure you just placed that I don't remember what it is. We also have from Canada. What is the current target for the stream today? So, in Sweden also. Cool. So the what we're working on is we are attempting to add some validation to our hot reloading GDExtension PR to ideally prevent people from doing things in their GDExtension such that when it reloads, it crashes the editor. And one of those things that is invalid that we weren't able to make crash the editor, but I'm like 99% sure it's possible to crash the editor in some circumstance with this, is changing the parent class of a class that the GDExtension is adding to Godot. So that's what we're attempting to validate here. We've got Texas and another Canada. So oddly, some centers of gravity are forming here. Sweden and Canada. Okay, so let's run it. I forget what we left the test script at. Did we change it back to being a node? We did not. Oop, but let's do that now. So this is going to be a node. As soon as it allows me to type. Let's recompile. We may have to restart Godot again because having a node attached to, or having an object GDExtension attached to a node, yeah, led to this wonderful X and exclamation point here. File too short. That's a little weird. Not the error I was expecting to see. All right, so we recompiled. Let's restart Godot. I suppose Stockholm and Montreal are both games hubs. Okay, so now we're getting the output we expect. It's saying crash ? And now we are going to do the invalid naughty thing and change the base type Node2D. I think I removed the include earlier. Yeah, I totally did. Let's just make this be Node2D. All right, and we'll recompile. And let's see if we get the error we just added by going back to the Godot editor. Oh. Ooh. So our error actually caused a crash. Let's take a look. We got a seg fault. How did this thing seg fault? It's not giving me like anything in the way of details either, which kind of sucks. I wonder if this doesn't exist for some reason, but it should. It's like static. Yeah, it's not a pointer. It's just a member of this struct. Extension equals this. The extension must exist. Parent class name must exist. Class name. Parent class name. Parent class name. What did we do? What did we do that's causing a seg fault here? Extension changed. Okay, here we go. Oh, I bet it's not from here. Okay, so we did get our error message. GDExtension class test node changed parent type from node to node2d on reload. So then we don't want to finish reloading. Maybe we need to do a little bit more work here then. So let's go look at the process of this. I know we added a method to object that sort of like clears out all of the GDExtension information for an object. Do we call that in preparation for reload, or does that come later? So there's like a prepare reload function. Let's go take a look at that. Where the heck is it? Oh, here we go. Prepare reload. Okay, so when we're preparing reload, yeah, okay, so we're clearing out some of the hierarchy information, but this is only like the hierarchy with regard to other GDExtensions. Setting the reload flag. We're getting all of the objects. We're saving their properties. Here, okay, we're clearing internal extension. Okay. When we're saving the properties, how are we saving those? I wonder if the problem is coming in trying to restore these properties. And also, let's see how completely are we clearing this. So in the end, extension is set to null pointer. That's pretty completely. Yeah, that seems complete enough to me, at least off the top of my head. So then finish reload. We're looping over the object IDs. I guess what we need is something to, at this point where we're resetting the instances and setting the properties, we need something to say, is this, did this class actually come back after the reload? Because what we're doing by aborting there is we're not bringing the extension class back, which can happen just by the user removing a class between a hot reload also. So that's like a thing that can happen in a couple of different ways. And what does this do? Reset internal extension. I have an idea. Okay, so back in the function where we're registering the class, so register extension class, we are setting is reloading to false. If we don't clear this flag, then that other function we were just in a second ago, that was the finish reload. This runs after the reload is done. It will okay, so classes to remove. Here we go. So if it's still reloading, then it says, okay, this is actually a class we have to remove. And then down here, it will remove these extension classes. So then here, when it's looping over again to restore the saved data from that object, because what it's got to do in between reloads is it has to like loop over the object's properties, save them, and then after the reload comes back to set them again, to give the illusion to the developer and the editor that all that was swapped out was like the class, as opposed to, you know, uninitializing and reinitializing everything. So actually, I think this might work. Let's look at the code once again really quickly. So yeah, before we clear the flag, we're doing our check. The flag doesn't get cleared. Let's try it. Ah, what did I press? Finger slipped. And yeah, let's kill Godot. Linking always takes so long. I was trying to test out Mold. Have you guys heard of Mold? It's like an alternative linker, which supposedly is really, really fast, and there's support in Godot's build system to use it, but I couldn't get it to work. It was like crashing for me or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I would love to have a tool that could link Godot faster. If anyone has had success with Mold or any other technique for getting Godot to link faster, I'd love to hear about it. Oh, uses Mold on Mac OS. Yeah, because it's based on Clang, like LLVM. Is that right? I can't remember. But yeah, I don't know why it wasn't working for me. Okay, so our thing is running. We're going to do the reverse of the change we did last time. We switched from node to node to D. Now we're going to switch from node to D to node. Let's recompile. Ah, Limbo Knot, welcome to the stream. And you got it to work on Arc. Interesting. I'm on Ubuntu, which, I mean, so many people use Ubuntu. It should be supported. All right. GDExtension class, test node, change parent type from node to D to node. Couldn't bind custom method. That's interesting. Why does this even happen? Couldn't bind custom method set value for instance test node. Couldn't bind custom method get value for. Oh, you know what? So we're erroring out of the attempt to register the class, but the GDExtension is still going to try to register all the methods for that class. I wonder why. Can we indicate failure somehow? So this doesn't return anything. I think we might just have to deal with that. If something prevents the class from re-registering, then attempts to do further registrations of methods, of properties, of whatever, sorry for the yawn, are just going to error out. Yeah, we have an add property that fails there too, but I think that's okay. This is something that can't work during a hot reload, so a bunch of errors is acceptable-ish, I think. It would be better if we could just have the one error, honestly, to have one error and then not the follow-up ones. But I don't know that we have a good way to do that without marking something in ClassDB. Or actually, no, we do have something marked. So we have is reloading here. Could we... Let's look at all of the GDExtension interface functions that come through the GDExtension class. Yeah. So in extension class method, extension class property. We could have some code there that checks to see if we are reloading. Then we could maybe not have this error message here happen. Although this isn't the error message we saw, is it? We saw a different error message. Oh, because this is not this is checking extension classes. So so this error message isn't happening because it's checking extension classes where it will exist because we're hanging on to a list of all the classes that used to be there. And then where we're getting the error message is when it ultimately calls into class DB, bind method custom. So that's where the error message is. So we could do a check here. This comment is talking about how we can't check is reloading to see if this class in particular is reloading because we would have reset it earlier, but now we're going to need to check for the reverse thing to prevent this error. So it's gonna make for a very complicated comment to explain what's going on. All I'm doing with Godot itself is calling linker equals mold for scans. For my GDExtension I use CMake, so I just CMake linker to mold. I mean, I could try it again. So that's in tasks. Yeah, I tried setting linker equals mold and it wasn't working for me for some reason. Like, let's just run it and see what happens. Oh, it won't do it because it's already running. Let me do it this way. Cannot locate mold installation path. Make sure it's in user or user local. The thing is, if I go here and do which mold, oh, it's in that location. Maybe I have to make sure it's in a standard location. And that'll fix it. What if I just do like, if I link to this and say user local. It's still going to find it there, but maybe Godot will find it at the other place. Let me just double check that it really moved where, or really set up the link where I thought it would. All right, let's try running this again. Again, could not, it's in, oh, user local bin. I just did a really silly thing there. So sudo move user local mold to user local bin. Could not locate mold installation path. Make sure it's in user local. I mean, it's there. It's there. It's user local bin mold. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'll mess with it more later off stream. I mean, it's in the path, man. The location is in the path. It just isn't finding it. I even moved it to user local bin and it's not finding it. I don't know. I'll futz with it later. All right, so what were we actually doing? We were getting the error. So I think what we did essentially worked. I'm going to say it's okay for now. I'm going to add to my notes that we should look at making those other error messages not happen. Or maybe we should do that now. Let's do that now. Should be simple. No need to delay. Don't do tomorrow what you can do today. Okay, so what we would want to do here is we'll say if or hang on, let me write the code first in the comment second. So if extension is reloading, we'll say if the extension is still marked as reloading, That means we failed to add the class for some reason. This line's getting really long. Where's the... Somewhere on this bar it tells me what character I'm at. Well, whatever, we'll cut it off here. We failed to load class for some reason, so don't attempt to add this method either. All right. We can remove that comment. I guess this sort of talks about the same thing again. And we'll put something like this in all of these. So class integer constant. And I guess, yeah, we'll need to wrap this in. But we'll have to do a bunch of extra work here. Hang on. Let's just make sure this one works. And then we'll go add it to the other ones. Yes. Thanks for the reminder. I remembered to do it. I remembered to change the linker back in my task, but that is a very classic thing for me to forget. Yeah, so this should mean that rather than getting the error about trying to bind those two methods to a class failing, we should not get those two error messages. We'll still get the error message about trying to add a property. We can fix that in a moment. So let's run it. I should just hit F5 to begin with. All right. So our class is running. Let's switch from node to node 2D. Rebuild. Go to the Godot editor. There we go. Changed parent type on reload. So we get our one error, but not those other two. This one is probably related as well. Class DB 976. Oops, that was class DB CPP. Yep, so this is from the adding the property. It's unable to get info about this class because it doesn't exist. So let's go back to GDExtension CPP. And we're just going to add code like this. Okay, so this one's already wrapped in tools enabled. This one needs to get wrapped in ifdef tools enabled. And we need to get the extension from somewhere. I guess we'll do that in two parts, like do that on another line. All right, and so then we'll have this to copy and paste to the other methods as well. This one just calls the one above, right? No, it calls the one below. So add this code here. Property group. Oop. Lost my buffer. Let's go get my buffer back. Here. And I guess I'm losing my buffer from needing to delete that at the end, the extra line. Property subgroup. Class signal. Unregistered class, we don't need to do anything here. All right, so this should make it so we only get the one error from doing this one erroneous thing, which is definitely friendlier than just a sea of messy errors that no one's going to understand what they're about. So let's rebuild. And then we're going to move on to some more interesting things, at least in the sense of I have no idea if there's a problem or what will happen if there's a problem or what the solution will be. So the next thing is figuring out how to make sure that replacing a method is safe. I believe, but was not able to fully verify, that GDScript caches method binds. So the GDExtension adds its class, adds a bunch of methods which are represented in ClassDB as method binds. And I believe that GDScript is grabbing a pointer to each of the method binds that it's calling and keeping those such that if we replace the method, it's going to keep using the same method bind, but now call to the new method, which is good. We want that. But are there ways that we can change the method that are unsafe? So let's say we have a method that takes an integer, and we have some GDScript code calling it, passing in an integer, and then we change the method in the GDExtension to no longer take an integer, but take a double. Now, that GDScript code, I think, will still call we'll call the new method, but I think it will still try to pass an integer into the double, and I'm actually not sure what will happen there. There's a couple of possibilities. One, it will just work because in GDScript everything's bundled up as variants anyway. The variant will just say, oh, okay, now I need to convert myself to a double. That's one possibility. The other possibility is we'll get a bunch of gibberish because the same data in an integer and a double will look very, very differently, like the same binary data will have a different meaning. Or we're going to crash. I'm not convinced that that particular example would necessarily lead to a crash because we're dealing with data that's the same size. But if we were to say, like, add an argument or remove an argument, that could lead to a crash. So I guess we're going to have to try all these things, try to see, is GDScript actually caching these method binds? What badness happens when we do certain changes, and then add some sort of validation to make sure we aren't doing those changes, or we aren't allowing those changes to enter the system, I guess I would say, and then figure out what to do in that case. I'm a little worried that we're going to end up in a situation where we say, okay, we found out this is invalid, so we mark that method bind as invalid, create a new one, but GDScript's still caching the old one, and all we can do is explode and say, hey, you're calling an invalid method bind, which is not great. Ideally, we'd be able to somehow have GDScript realize that it's using an invalid method bind and get the fresh one, and do whatever validation it needs to do to make sure that, like, it thinks it's calling a method that's okay. I don't know. Lots of things to dig into. Let's quick finish up this one. All right, so let's change it from node to D to node again. Recompile. Go back here. And there we go. Extension class test node changed parent type from node to D to node on reload, which is an error. It's not reloading our stuff. That's good. I wonder what happens if we change it back. Like, what if we make this valid again? What if we go back to node 2D? Will it start working again? That'd be kind of cool. I mean, it's fine if it doesn't work again. Because, there is a point where we just cannot work around these problems for the user. They're going to just have to restart the editor. Oh, I should put that in the error message. Yeah. Or I wonder, can we detect this in such a way that we can actually put the pop-up that says, like, hey, you did a thing that will only work if you restart the editor. Hot reload can't save you here. Click this button to do the reload. That would be amazing. Andreas says, is there a way to always remove the old method bind and create a new method bind for the new function, even if all parameters and values are the same? So I think if all the parameters and return values are the same, we don't want to remove the method bind. We would like to use it in that place because caching the method bind is a huge performance improvement, which is why I think and hope, I guess actually, that GDScript is doing that. I know that Godot CPP does that for sure. Godot CPP caches all the method binds that it gets from Godot. But yeah, pop up with the restart button would be super amazing. I agree with you, Ricardo. But yeah, I don't know, like, because these systems are so decoupled, like GDScript is not directly thinking or caring about GDExtension. We're just sort of interfacing with ClassDB together. Also, I'm pretty sure C# is also caching method binds. So like, we would need something that any thing that's interacting with ClassDB would be able to say, like, is this method bind invalid, and then restart whatever their pipeline is. Because that's the other thing about GDScript. The reason I was not able to 100% verify that it's caching method binds is because GDScript is built as like a pipeline. You have like an analyzer stage, a compiling stage, and then like a VM stage. And the VM is the part where it's actually going to call these method binds. But if the VM realizes a method bind is invalid, it might not be able to trigger the start of the pipeline again. I don't know at what point GDScript is saying, like, okay, here's a method, here are its arguments, I'm going to call it with these values. Is that okay? If not, syntax error, we can't compile that function. I don't know that it's doing any of that validation at the VM level. So I don't know. This is very convoluted. Performance on hot reload is not the main concern, unless we're trying to improve performance. Well, no. So performance on hot reload is not the main concern, but GDScript and C# and all of these things are going to be written not with GDExtension or hot reload in mind, right? So we don't necessarily want to say, hey, in order for hot reload to work, we have to change the GDScript VM. In order for hot reload to work, we want to change C#. So it would be fine, I think, at a high level, like holistically, to say, okay, if we're dealing with like method binds that could reload, GDScript, don't cache them, do some special new thing, but then we're introducing like a whole bunch of code into GDScript that we probably shouldn't, just because we don't want for GDScript to have to care about this, at least at a very specific level. If we can generalize it somehow, then that's fine. But yeah, I guess that's my best attempt at explaining this. As we dig in, hopefully it will become more clear, both to me and to you guys, because I also am a little bit in uncharted territory here. All right, so we did get a new thing working with this test. And we had the idea about reloading the editor. So what I'm going to do straight out the gate here is I'm going to add something to the error message about reloading the editor. And then later, maybe I'll add something to my notes to see if we can somehow trigger the pop-up. So where the heck was that? That was here. On, we'll say, on hot reload, Godot must be restarted for this change to take effect. No, that's really wordy. On hot reload, but Godot must be restarted. Extension class attempted. Oh, now I'm just making it longer. Attempted to change parent from hot reload. On hot reload, I'll just say Godot must be restart change take effect. I don't know. That's fine. It's long. I'll maybe think of something better later. But yeah, we have this working. So let's at least get it in Git. Let's get this change in Git. Just take a quick look at the diff. Seems fine. Restart for this change. Oh yeah, restart Godot. Restart Godot for this change to take effect. That actually sounds really good, guys. Let me restart. Yeah, and it's active too. I like that. Restart Godot, not like, yeah, restart Godot for this change to take effect. That sounds good. Thanks for the suggestions. Okay, commit, amend. So let's push these changes up. Now, to the whole method bind situation. So this is a little trickier to test because we need some GDScript code to be calling GDExtension code, but this all needs to take place in the editor. So I think we need to make a quick add-on in GDScript, and we need to have a function to call. So, well, let's make a couple of functions because there's a couple of things I want to test. So let's make we'll say print value, and we'll have it take an integer. Or print value when we have these get value, set value things. That's a little weird. Print thing. And I want something that takes an object, so we can try changing object types and see what happens there. How can we do that dangerously? What's a dangerous thing we could do with an object? It's hard to come up with contrived examples sometimes. Let me just quick look in our automated tests here. I guess that was example.h. Let's see if I can get some inspiration. I mean, we could take a sprite and print out the name of its texture or something. Because if that gets an unexpected type, that would be weird. But then, how do we flip-flop that between something that's valid and invalid? Well, that's a good enough idea. Say print sprite texture. So we're going to take a sprite 2D. And for that, I need to include the sprite 2D header here. Oh, let me copy paste these guys. And yeah, just from here because it's vaguely where they happen in the header file. Test node. And here we're going to do utility functions print p value. And here we're going to do utility functions print p sprite. So that would be like get texture. And we need to bind those. So print thing takes an argument of value, I think. Print thing. Print sprite texture takes a sprite. print sprite texture, wasn't it? Oh no, this is the wrong class. Haha. This is in this class. So not summator, but test node. Print sprite texture. Okay, I think that's all the changes we need to make on the GDExtension side. Let's compile this. At least one function with a string parameter and one with an int and one with a float. Yeah, the return values too are interesting. Int to object, object as a function call to null pointer exception. Yeah, those are all good ideas. Let's get a test with these ones first, see what happens, and then we can start adding some more of those ideas. I think getting the boilerplate for this going is going to be well, I don't want it to take more time than it needs to. And then we can start getting into the specifics. Let's just try to jam through this boilerplate. It's been a little while since I made a add-on from scratch, so we'll copy and paste some stuff from some other add-ons. Or actually, I think the docs on this are pretty good. It's always good to run through something through the docs every once in a while. Editor, say editor plugin add-on. I don't know. Give me something. Give me something here, docs. Plugins element. Making plugins. Here we go. Yeah, let's just follow the docs. Usually what I do for like pretty much everything is I copy and paste code that I had previously written. Like I learn it once and then I just copy and paste the last time I did a thing forever. I don't know if that's a good strategy, but that's generally what I do. Okay, so making plugins. Before starting, create a new project folder. First thing you need to do is identify a plugin, plugin.cfg for configuration, tool script, plugins have passed, like blah, blah, blah. Project and project settings, then create new plugin. All right, so this is going to be reload plugin. I'm probably going to need to make this directory, aren't I? Let's do that really quickly. Or actually, let's do it from here. Victor add-ons reload plugin. Oh yeah, that's an interesting idea, Andreas. That to use defines, so I don't have to like if-defs, so I don't have to keep swapping things. That's definitely a great way to accelerate testing this. Yeah, so then plugin GD, I think is fine. Subfolder is not a valid folder. What are you talking about? I made it a valid folder. Add-ons, reload plugin. Do I need to have that file already exist? Say touch plugin.gd. I don't know why you're yelling at me here. It's a subfolder. Oh, do I just give the simple name and it makes it into that name? That makes sense. Okay, let's say reload plugin. All right. So, what's the best way to do this? We can make our test node here, test node. And when we enter the tree, we'll say test node equals test node new, add child test node. And then when we exit tree, we will do remove child test node q free, and then we need to have some code that calls into our GDExtension, calls whatever method on it that we want. And we could do that a couple different ways. One of the easier ways would be adding something to the tools menu. Does it show how to do that here? Otherwise, I know where to look for the docs for that. Some types, custom doc. Oh, okay, let's go look at editor plugin. And it's add tool menu item. Here we go. Add tool menu item. So our code for this is here. So this is going to be call into GDExtension. Oops. And here we're going to do something like test node print thing. We're going to pass in an integer. And we need to say add tool menu item. Say call into GDExtension. And it's going to take I typed that right? Autocomplete was being weird. Okay, so let's enable this. Reload plugin. It is enabled. We have to disable and re-enable. And now tools, call into GDExtension. It printed out our 72. And this work again is pretty annoying. We should get rid of that. Comment this out for now. Wrong directory. Okay. Wait, is this all in one place? No, why did I put that add-ons there? Oh, because that's totally wrong. So Godot made the add-ons folder for me. This add-ons didn't actually end up doing anything. Yeah, okay, cool. So now let's just see what happens. We go back to the Godot editor. It's no longer spamming work again. I go to tools, call into GDExtension. It still prints 72. Let's try to break some stuff here. So we want to change the type, which let's take Andreas's suggestion here and you do some defines. So I'm gonna say like define, we'll call it I don't know, GDExt_alt 1, and we'll say do if_indef GDExt_alt else and if, and we'll change this to double, and this one to, let's say, I don't know, node, and then over in the implementation, say if_indef GDExt_alt else and if, and then we will make the new versions here double and node, and we can't print the texture here. Let's print, I don't know, the node path or something. Get path. So actually, I think going from this to that is the more dangerous swap. But yeah, let's try it in any case. rebuild it. We go over to Godot. We assume it reloaded. It didn't give us any message to indicate that it didn't. Call into GDExtension. It printed 0. So, what does that mean? I think that means it cached the method bind and attempted to call it, and I think the variant magic may have turned it to 0 for us. Well, let's go edit the code, because this should cause GDScript to like recompile this function and re-get the method bind. So let's change this to, I don't know, 2.54 or 52, 54. It doesn't really matter. So we've changed it. So now we go here and we run it again. And now it comes through because GDScript would have recompiled that function, got, well, not so much got a new method bind. So it's still the same method bind. But this time, GDScript is expecting it to be a double, whereas last time it compiled, it wasn't expecting it to be a double. Does that make sense? So let's do this switch again. Let's go summator. Let's comment out this define, rebuild. All right, so the GDScript bytecode should be unchanged. It should still be caching the method bind. We go over to tools, call into GDExtension, and now we get this gibberish. All right, so I think we've verified that this is unsafe. It's not crashing, which is good, but I think we verified that this is unsafe. Let's extend our test a little further. What do I have to do to make GDScript recompile this? Like if I just add a comment, is that enough? Because when GDScript knows that this function takes a double, or takes an int now, but it's passing a double, it should truncate it to 2, right? So I added a comment. Let's run it again. And now it's been truncated to 2. Okay, so any edit to the GDScript file will cause GDScript to recompile all of those functions to bytecode. And then it knows how to do the conversion correctly. I'm so sorry for yawning so much. Jeez. I was saying at the beginning of the stream that I'm not as sleep deprived as I usually am on stream, but man, I guess that's a matter of degree. I'm always sleep deprived, but I'm just like a little bit better, I guess. Does variant do any internal conversion? If not, then it goes in as an int, and when you request it as a double from it, it would be 0. Well, it shouldn't be 0. It should be random gobbledygook, which is what we got when we went the other way. The 0 thing is a little bit surprising. I mean, that it's not coming out the right value, unsurprising, but 0 specifically seems like something somewhere is intervening and trying to do something intelligent. Going the other way from a double to an int, we did get some gibberish, which is kind of closer to what I was expecting. Anyway, let's try to do something more dangerous. Let's try, yeah, the texture thing. Let's just try that. I think removing or adding an argument would definitely be another dangerous thing we could try. I need more if defs here. Let's change the way this works. Let's say if GDAlt equals, okay, hang on. So if GDExtAlt equals 0, we do this one. Or how do you do these again? Yeah, it seems fine. Okay. And then we'll say elif GDExtAlt equals 1. And then we'll have elif GDExtAlt equals 2. Oh yeah. What happens if they go away entirely? We should test that. Because I think we can safely say that it's caching the method binds. I mean, I'm not 100%, but I'm very nearly 100% on that at this point. So 1, 2, 3. Gotta go up here and we gotta say, or 0, 1, 2. I started counting 1 at 0, 1, 2. Okay, and I want to jump all the way to like, let's just totally undefine these things. And this I think should actually get an error saying that the method bind is invalid, because that is the one case that I have written code to protect against. Yeah, so GDExtAlt equals 2. What are you complaining? 58? Oh, here we go. So if GDExtAlt does not equal 2. Inst pointer. That's also an interesting one to try. All right. So we go back in here and we try to do call into GDExtension. Cannot call invalid method bind from GDExtension. All right, so this is the one case that I know I already accounted for, so that's good. I had never tested it, but it's good that it works. All right, so yeah, I would like to test an argument going away and see what happens there. So let's add another alternative for that. Alt equals 3. Let's have print thing just not have an argument anymore. Oop. And we need to write the code to back that. Let me say if GDExtAlt equals 3, then this will be without an argument. And down to the actual implementation. Oh, and this one should still be, I guess, Sprite. Or which one did I copy? It's still a node. Okay. All right, let's try this. Is there a way to put the method name in that error, the one about the invalid method bind? Yes, I think so. I think there is. We can do that. that would definitely be useful. Before I go down that path, because that will totally distract me, let me just finish testing this thing. But if I forget to do your suggestion, remind me again, please. All right, so we have now completely removed the argument, I think. Or did I change the definition of that macro? I did, okay. So now if I call it this, I strongly suspect will be a crash, but let's find out. Where the heck is the tools menu? Here it is. Oh, it's just saying invalid method bind. Oh, I wonder if it's just, yeah, okay, so it's stuck with the invalid method bind it ended up with, so we need to force GDScript to recompile. Oh, and here it's going to complain because now it knows that it doesn't take an argument. So if we go back here, we've now compiled it in the version where it doesn't take an argument. Call into GDExtension, it prints just a thing. Let's switch to one of the other alternatives. Let's go back to number 1 or number 0, where it's expecting an int, which I think it's going to get the random it's going to get the contents of whatever the register is that's used for the first argument, the first integer argument of a function. Project tools, call into GDExtension. Haha! We have crashed it! We have crashed it! All right, good. All right, we have thoroughly established that replacing a method with a method that has a different signature is unsafe. Return values we haven't dug into. Return values might actually be safe, just given the way that they work in GDExtension. They are done as a persistent argument. Or wait. Okay, changing the return value might be safe, except when switching from void to something. Well, we should definitely test that too, to see if that's safe or not. But yeah, so we've established that the same method bind switching its arguments is definitely not safe. We also established that marking a method bind as invalid does essentially work, but then even if we reload, GDScript is not getting a new method bind. It's not getting the correct one. It's just failing on the incorrect one. So I think if we were to add checks to make sure that the signature matched when we were reloading, we'd be able to make any unsafe condition say, you've tried to call an invalid method bind. I think we could do that. And let's, in fact, do that. And we'll do the suggestion of AS Maloney here to put the function name in there. But once we get to that point, it's now not super useful. Like hot reload has become crippled in a little bit of a way in that you cannot change method signatures. It would be great to have some solution to reload that. If that's not possible, then I guess we just say you have to restart the editor, which is not the worst, but not the best either. All right, let's dig into the first part of this. So I believe in GDExtension, CPP is where we define the method binds used by GDExtension. Okay, GDExtension method bind. And here is where we want to give the method name. So cannot call invalid method bind from GDExtension, right? So we'll put this in V format. And where can we get the name from? Or maybe we don't actually have the name at this point, but I thought we did. I really thought we did. Property info, metadata. Maybe we just need to grab it. Let's see. So this happens in update. We get the GDExtension class method info. This has the name. We're just not storing it. So it's a string name value. So let's just store it. We only need to store it in this kind of tools enabled world. So let's do that. Why are these public? Oh, probably because I didn't want to do like a friend class somewhere, I guess. Well, this doesn't really need to be public. Let's make these not be public. It's just weird. I don't know why I did that. And then here we need a string name, say name. And we need to set it down here in update. Name equals p method info. Name, but we need to cast that. So that's reinterpret cast. Oh, why did you eat the whole thing? Bad VS Code. Reinterpret cast string name. And then dereference it so we get a copy. All right. So then we should be able to change this message. Cannot call invalid method bind. Invalid. And from GDExtension seems wrong. That's actually sort of deceptive because we're not calling from GDExtension. It's a method bind from GDExtension. Cannot call invalid GDExtension method bind. And then we'll give it its name. I think that works. Still a step better than the current situation. Would it make sense to capture the whole signature? What about overloads? I'm not sure what you mean by overloads. In Godot land, a method can only have a method with a name can only have one signature. I know in C++ it's possible to have multiple, but as far as things that get registered in class DB, we can only have the one. Okay, so this should report the class name when we attempt to call the invalid method bind. Oop, but this one I didn't do quite right. Right, so this one needs to not have value and not have this. Oh, same one here. Same thing here, so I can just copy and paste that one. The difference was some of these methods returned a value and some didn't. The ones that don't need a slightly different error macro. Okay. And when you're talking about capturing the whole signature, you're talking about like in the error message, printing out the whole signature of the method. Well, anyway, let's test this for now. Get it compiling. And what did I do? Oh, is it because I didn't declare the friend class? I think I need to declare the friend class. And we can even just put it in here. Now let's make sure that this error message prints the name. Then we need to start adding all of the checks to make sure the signature is the same. And then we got to figure out if there's a better thing that we can do to allow GDScript or C# or Godot CPP or anybody who's grabbing method binds to do something smarter than what they are doing. Unable to load it, probably because the signature isn't right anymore. Print thing wants like, I don't know, a double or something. I can't remember. What are we on? Alt 0, it wants an integer. All right, so pass an integer. 42. All right, now will you load? Project, tools, call into GDExtension, 42. All right, and the simplest way to recreate our error is to switch to the alt number 2, which has no method at all. Come back here, and we say project, tools, call into GDExtension, cannot call invalid GDExtension method bind, print thing. Success! Success. Maybe we need a way to tell editor to reload scripts or invalidate bindings cache that call the extension. So that would be awesome. The thing that I worry about here is we don't want to have like a really tight coupling between GDExtension and GDScript and C# and whatever else might exist. Right now, there is no coupling whatsoever. Both GDScript and GDExtension are using class DB, and they just kind of like do their thing. You know, they just say, okay, class DB, give me a method bind. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Doesn't matter what it is. They just do their thing. I'm very wary of adding code to GDScript that specifically knows about GDExtension, or adding code to GDExtension that specifically knows about GDScript. So if we can come up with a way to do that, to do your suggestion of telling the editor to reload scripts or invalidate its cache or whatever, it would need to be done in some sort of generic way. And I just don't know how that is. So I did add like a new virtual method on all method binds. If we go to the parent method bind class, which is invalid, or I thought it was is invalid. Am I in the right place? Or no, is valid, not is invalid. Is valid, which method binds can overload and return a value, and the one from GDExtension is doing that. So we could maybe say that if you're caching method binds, you should check if they're valid before calling them. But then what do you do? What do you do if it's invalid? Again, because in GDScript, you're at the end of a pipeline by the time you get to this point, because the GDScript is first analyzed, then compiled, then you're in the VM, and it's in the VM where we'd realize that the bind is invalid. I don't know, and maybe if there's anyone who knows GDScript better than me, because I like really don't know the internals of GDScript at all, is there a way to like at this point in the VM say, hey, go back to the beginning of the pipeline, redo the whole thing, and start over? Like, can we do that? And I just don't know. So yeah, I may need to meet with the GDScript team and talk to them and see if there's something that can be done here. The other thing too is we don't want to have to always check if method binds are valid. Like, this is something we should only ever do in the editor, because it would be a big performance hit if we were to do it at runtime. So there's also that consideration. Like every time you call a function, adding that you have to go through the virtual table and check this is valid thing does seem like it would be no good for like an actual running game. Anyway, those are all my worries. Sorry to hit you with a lot of worries and problems and no solutions. But that's kind of the things that are giving me pause with regard to that. So we can definitely do the first part though. We can definitely do the verify if it's safe and then just say invalid when it's not. So let's do that. You don't have to do it in runtime because while runtime you don't change a GDExtension. Correct. It's just we have to somehow have GDScript know when is the right time to check if a bind is valid or invalid. And I guess we can say with some amount of certainty that right now the only reason a method bind would ever be invalid is because of this GDExtension reloading thing. That actually makes me think, I'm talking about it more, like this is valid check, this is valid function should maybe not exist at all if we are not in a tools build. Just to like really, really encourage people to not touch this. Don't touch this method if you're not in a tools build. Yeah. Let me make sure that we're doing that also down here. I think we are though. Yeah, so we're only defining it down here if it's tools enabled. So that should compile. Let me just see that it does. Because yeah, if we put the method there and then some later Godot contributor says, I should call that and see if the thing's valid, we don't want him to do that. Unless it's an editor thing. Okay, so there is a method over here that I started that does nothing presently, but that's there for the purpose of checking whether or not it's safe to update a method bind. Yep, here we go. Try update to do something to check if this is safe. All right, it's time to do something. All right, so what kind of data do we have? We can compare. Let me just close this for now so I have more screen space. Yeah, okay, so we can loop through the argument info and the argument metadata. What's in the metadata? What does that even store? Oh, interesting. The size of the integer, the size of the float and double. I guess we should compare that also. So compare the metadata and the property info. Part of the property info, really, because not all of this matters. We don't care about the name. Ooh, class name is on here? Okay. We don't care about the hint. We don't care about the hint string. We don't care about the usage. We just care about the type. That's all that matters for us here is type. Oop. And I'm pretty sure return value is probably significant, so we should compare those as well. So how does this look? We need to say say if return value info is not equal null pointer and hang on, so let's say bool has return value equals return value info does not equal null pointer, which actually leads me to believe that this should be slightly different. Or no, because it's not a pointer. How do we know if it has return value? Oh, I guess its type would be nil? Okay. All right, so we need to check if its type is nil. And then we can do something like if has return value does not equal p method info has return value return false. But I really very quickly need to run to the bathroom. I will be back in just a minute. All right, sorry about that. Especially when the stream is coming to an end relatively soon. I probably, I don't know how much of this I can even really advance before the end of the stream, but I think we have an idea on the way forward, which is good. I think all the testing we did today was really, really good. I think even if we can make this not ideal, but at least safe, that gives us a starting point to make it better in the future. Carter says, in the C# module in Godot, Julia method bind pointers are initialized to null pointer and retrieved on demand. In that case, one could expose a method to set the method bind pointers back to null pointer so they would be retrieved anew on the next call. And that method could be called when reloading a GD extension. Yeah, it's just a question of knowing when to do that. I think I'm coming around really strongly to the idea of what I was just saying a second ago of like, let's make this safe and then figure out how to make it more dynamic, more able to respond to a GD extension being reloaded as like a follow-up thing. Because there is so much to figure out here. And it's among a whole bunch of different people. Like, what would be acceptable to the GDScript maintainers and the C# maintainers, and what would be acceptable to the Godot CPP maintainers? Like, because we'll also have to deal with this too. If we have a Godot CPP GD extension that depends on another GD extension, and we're calling, getting its method binds, and it could possibly be reloaded. So yeah, it's an interesting thing that's going to probably require a whole bunch of discussion. Yeah, let me see if I can write the last two bits of this, the arguments. Or okay, maybe just finish the return values. Let's finish the return values. So we'll say if or hang on. Yeah, we want to convert this first. So let's say return value info property info. We'll say new return value info is p method info return value info. Say if return value info type, I imagine, type does not equal new return value info type. Actually, yeah, I probably don't need this check because this check does the same thing. Yeah. Okay, cool. We did one check the same. So return value metadata. New return value metadata. And this was just an enum, I think. Yep. Why are you having a problem here? Seems like this should be okay. Value of type, no, cannot be used to initialize a value of type. What? Why is it okay for this code and not okay for this code? Do I need to do it like... Let's do it like this. Equals Godot type info metadata. Metadata. Do you like me now, VS Code? You do. Okay. If return value metadata does not equal new return value metadata, and return false. All right, so that's return values validated, and it'd be the same thing for arguments. We just need to have a loop. Loop, do essentially the same thing. Yeah, a method cannot change from static to non-static. That would also be pretty crazy. Const to non-const, do we care about that? I think probably not. It's at least not invalid from a binary perspective. I think we could probably allow that. The argument count changing, that'd probably be the first next thing to check. Say if we'll say argument count is not equal p method info argument count, return false. Anyway, check the rest of the stuff. Yeah, Ismail, you're probably right that it was something to do with assignment versus the constructor, but like I thought you could interchange those ways of doing assignment, but I guess not. Andreas, you can increase the speed if you first check the argument count. Yeah. We don't care so much at this point about speed, though, because this method, the try update, is only going to be called during the process of the hot reload. It won't be called during any hot paths anywhere. But yeah, we'll definitely check the argument count before we check anything else on the arguments. One more idea is incoming from Andreas. We are all waiting with bated breath. Because yeah, I don't know that I can make any more progress on the stream, but thank you so much, guys, for hanging out and all of your ideas and input. And I'm probably going to continue working on this over the weekend. I think it's pretty likely that I will have at least a provisional solution to these problems in the PR in the next couple of days, which I think is enough to take it out of draft, to like say, hey, people review this, try it, find more bugs for me, please, and to try and get the people who maintain the other GDExtension language bindings like Godot Rust and Godot Python and all those to test it out and make sure that it works for them as well. Because, yeah, I mean, the changes were a little weird for what I had to do to Godot CPP to make it work. I'm interested to see if it's works okay for the other language bindings as well. Andreas says you could rename invalid bindings so the new bindings will be created. Oh yeah, so if we return false from here, from try update, it will create a new method bind. The old one will continue to exist because we know that some code has the pointer cached, so we can't get rid of it. But it will create a new method bind. The thing is that the caches won't update. So we create a new method bind. If it's not compatible, great. Anything new that comes in and gets it will get the new one. But anything that still has it cached will get the invalid one. So like, assuming we write all this code and we do a hot reload and it has a different signature, and we rerun our GD script, it'll say invalid method bind. We can't call that. But if we go change that GD script file even a little bit, such that it causes GD script to recompile it, then it will get the new method bind and everything's good again. It's eliminating that like disconnect of the old cache to getting the new method bind that I'm not sure how to do, and maybe is best addressed in a future PR, basically. Anyway, thanks again, everyone. This was a great stream, and yeah, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be back next week. So I'll talk to you all on the stream then, as well as on the Discord, which if you haven't joined, the link is over here. Come hang out. Yeah, take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.